Best mood as I had to babysit my little 8-year-old cousin Alex that night. My aunt and uncle were heading out of town for the night with my parents, and they needed a babysitter. Of course, my parents just had to volunteer me. My dad offered to pay me $30 to take Alex to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I would have rather stayed home and just watched TV, but making $30 to sit at a pizzeria and watch animatronics for an hour at most seemed like a good deal. Before leaving, my dad handed me $50, the extra 20 for whatever the cost was for the food and games. I would obviously pocket the change. My aunt and uncle dropped Alex off as they left with my parents. I greeted Alex and tried talking to him, although I didn't expect much conversation from an 8-year-old. It was around 8 o'clock when we left. I had never been to this place. I imagined it would be like Chuck E. Cheese. I did, however, know that this place had a bad history, and that it would be closed by the end of the year. Alex seemed excited on the way there. I couldn't relate. I remember having always been afraid of those singing animatronics in these kinds of places when I was younger. We got there at around 8:15. The last show of the night started at around 8:30. I remember outside seeing a help wanted sign for a security guard. I wondered why a place like this would even need a security guard, but I shrugged it off. We sat down at a table and I got a pizza for us. It tasted no better than a frozen pizza or what you would get at a Chuck E. Cheese. I didn't expect much more though. The atmosphere seemed a little outdated, like something that would fit in the early 90s. The place wasn't particularly nice or clean, but it was still very popular, which made me wonder what could have happened to make it have to close by the end of the year. While eating, there was suddenly a loud drum roll, followed by a voice introducing the characters. The kids all cheered as the curtains opened up, revealing the 3 animatronic singers, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. I was shocked. These animatronics looked old and a lot less detailed than I was expecting. They looked creepy. As they sang their first song, Alex, along with all the other kids, seemed to be enjoying it. Even most of the parents seemed to be smiling and having a nice time. But I just stared with a blank expression on my face. The animatronics and Bonnie made jokes and interacted with the kids in the audience a bit before starting their third song. Forget how they looked at me. They stared directly at me, but the way they stared at me, it didn't feel happy or friendly. It felt evil. I asked Alex if he was ready to leave, because I wanted to get the hell out of that place. He told me he wanted to see the rest of the show and play some arcade games. He asked me for my cell phone, telling me that he had to tell his mom something. I handed him my phone and he walked off to the arcade games. As he walked off, I noticed another mini stage away from the main stage. It was called Pirate's Cove. The stage had the curtain closed and a tiny sign out front that read out of order. I asked an employee what it was and why it was closed. He told me that the animatronic that lives on the stage, named Foxy, had a technical malfunction in 1987, causing it to bite out a child's frontal lobe. Hearing this news, I realized why this place had a troubled history, and why it was closing. It shocked me that if such a horrific accident like this happened, how this place managed to stay open all this time. I was starting to feel uncomfortable staying in that place. I wanted to leave as soon as possible, but I knew Alex was having a good time. I saw him playing some arcade games. I sat back down and just waited. I just wanted the show to end as soon as possible so we could leave. About 5 minutes passed until the intermission was over and the curtains were opening back up. A lot of the kids that had gotten up to play games didn't return to the show area. I couldn't really blame them. I never found animatronics entertaining when I was younger either. Alex didn't come back either. I know I should have probably just gotten away from the stage and played the games with Alex, but part of me was curious. I needed to see what was going on, and if these things would still stare directly at me with their evil plastic eyes. Freddy and Bonnie made jokes and interacted with the kids in the audience a bit before starting their third song. It was interesting though. Most animatronics were attached to the floor, only able to move from the torso up. But these guys, their legs seemed to have free movement, allowing Freddy and his friends to walk across the stage. It was incredible and terrifying. The third song ended, and I was ready for them to look at me. Nothing. The 3 robots made jokes and interacted with the kids, none of them even turning their heads in my direction. I felt a weird mix of feelings, relief and discontentment. Why was I anticipating it? Why did I want them to stare at me? The last song went by fast because of all my thoughts. As it ended, the three friends started to say their farewells to the children. At this point, I was convinced that they weren't going to stare at me anymore, and that maybe the